Have any of you guys heard of Netflix? Yeah, Netflix it's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big thing. But one of the problems with Netflix is that while they have really good shows, I mean, Netflix makes really good shows, not quite as good as HBO or Apple TV Plus, but Netflix has got a really good track record with making their series. What they don't have a good track record of is making their movies. 98% of the movies that Netflix makes are total junk and garbage, cluttering up the feed. So when a good one does kind of come out, we tend to miss it. Well, at a recent event, Netflix head honcho, Ted Sarandos, was asked by a reporter saying, hey, you guys just appointed a new film division head. Are you going to start cutting back on the amount of movies you're going to make? You know, one of the big criticisms of you guys put quantity way over quality. And Ted Sarandos said something really interesting. And by interesting, I mean stupid. He said this. He goes, I don't agree with the premise that quantity and quality are somehow in conflict with each other. We've had, by the way, Ted, yes, it is. Anyway, we've had 8 Best Picture nominees in the last 5 years on Netflix. Our movie programming has been great, but it's just not all for you, and it's not meant to be all for you. Our movie programming is great. It's just not meant to all be for you. It's not meant to be, all for you. All right. I want to address this because a buddy of mine texted me the other day about this quote, because this quote just came out the other day, and he said, he's right. Quantity and quality aren't diametrically opposed. And my thought on that is, I think sometimes that's true. I think it's sometimes you can have both quantity and quality. It is possible to do that. But I believe that most of the time, you got to generally pick which one you're going to prioritize, right? I'm not saying you have to only pick quality, because if you only picked quality, you do your one best movie and that's it, right? I'm not saying that, but I'm saying you've got to pick which one you're going to prioritize. Are you going to prioritize quantity, or are you going to prioritize quality? You can have a bit of both, but which one are you going to prioritize? And I would suggest to you that Netflix has prioritized consistently quantity. Now, Ted Sarandos pointed out that Netflix has had Best Picture nominees, and they have. They've had 9 of them. 9 Netflix films have gotten, none of them have won, but 9 of them have gotten a prestigious Best Picture at the Academy Awards nomination. But at what quantity ratio? So let's take a look. Netflix films, the 9 of them that have been nominated for Best Picture: Maestro, Roma, The Irishman, Marriage Story, Mank, Trial of the Chicago 7, Don't Look Up. Don't Look Up shouldn't have been nominated, but I did like it. I liked it anyway. Power of the Dog, All Quiet on the Western Front. These are great movies, right? Whether or not you think each single one of them should have been nominated for Best Picture, that's up to your individual taste, but these are all great movies. Nobody is denying that Netflix has put out over the years some great movies, but at what quantity, right? Because great, 9 Best Picture nominees. All right. In 2023, Netflix put out 156 what they would be called original, either self-produced or distributed films. 156. In 2022, they put out 173. In 2021, they put out 154. Roughly over the last 5 years, they've averaged about 155 movies per year, roughly working out to give or take somewhere around the 750 to 800 movies in the last 5 years. Now, that includes a lot of different kinds of movies, right? That'll include some documentaries, that'll include foreign films. It includes a lot. There's a lot there. But in the last 5 years, roughly about anywhere between 750 and 800 films. Yes, Ted, you've put out a number of Best Picture nominees. I would like to put forward that if my next door neighbor put out 900 films, then maybe 1% of them he might get lucky and get a Best Picture nomination out of it. I'm not saying their Best Picture nominations have all been out of pure luck. I'm not saying that. I'm not suggesting that at all. I'm just saying your ratio to success is not so good. Guys, we want to take a second to thank a sponsor of today's video, Harry's. You know, guys, in order to start the John Campea Show, I had to leave my high-paying corporate job in order to set myself up to be happier and enjoy more personal success. Because sometimes to get what you want, you have to challenge the status quo and blaze your own trail. And that's exactly what the folks at Harry's did. You see, at Harry's, they saw customers getting ripped off by questionable products in the shaving industry and decided to do something better. Harry's decided to pave their own road by making beautifully designed razors for a fraction of the price of the other big brands. Exceptional products, honest prices. That's Harry's. I have fallen in love with Harry's, from their foaming shaving gel that feels just luxurious on the skin, to their incredible razor that feels just as good in the hand as it does going over your skin. They've got rich, lathering, skin-softening body wash in scents like redwood, wylands, and stone. You see, Harry's provides German-engineered blades made in their own factory that stay sharp longer. You can get a 5-blade razor, weighted handle, foaming shave gel, and a travel cover for just $3 at harrys.com/Campea. Don't settle for the status quo. Blaze your own trail with Harry's. Get started with a $13 trial set for just $3 at harrys.com/Campea. That's harrys.com/Campea for a $3 trial set. Now, look, one of the things that Ted says that I can completely get behind is that not every movie is for you, right? All film is, after all, subjective. And while I would concede that in the pure flood of Netflix films, that some people might like some and a bunch of people might not like it, and then there'll be another film that maybe a bunch of people don't like, but some people do, and all that kind of stuff. But I think you would find en masse that even people who like the odd dumpster fire movie that Netflix puts out, people would acknowledge the vast majority of films that Netflix put out are garbage. They're absolute trash. And here's why that becomes a problem. It becomes a problem because they put out all these movies, right? None of them get the marketing attention. I mean, Netflix is notorious for putting out stuff that none of us have even ever heard of, or putting out stuff that we didn't even know was coming out, right? They put out such a glut of content that basically two things happen. One, good films, when you do have the odd good one, good films get lost in the mix. And number two, you're going to get a lot of average viewers like me who won't even give most Netflix movies a chance because 95% of your movies are garbage. Quantity and quality are not opposed. Of course they're opposed. Let me put it this way. Let's say Netflix had a mandate that we were only going to put out 30 films a year, which, by the way, is more than any other studio. But let's say Netflix gave themselves a mandate, right? And that mandate was 30 films a year. Okay. Then that would mean that Ted and his generals would probably be a little bit more picky and decide, okay, we've got a limit of 30 films per year. You know what they would do? They would pick out the best 30 films that they think the audience would enjoy, right? They would pick out of that hundreds of films that they've got in front of them, hundreds of projects they could possibly do or pick up. They're going to probably pick what they think are the 30 best. That means number 31, not good enough. Number 32, not good enough. Number 47, not good enough. Number 89, not good enough. Only these 30 are good enough to be on Netflix. And what you start to do is you develop a bit of a reputation for excellence. Apple TV right now does not put out a lot of stuff, but my God, when they put out stuff, 90% chance it's going to be awesome. So their reputation right now is that everything they put out, you probably want to give a shot to, because most likely you're going to like it. You're not going to like everything, but most likely you will. So when Ted and his band of merry men decide to increase, say, we're talking fictitiously here, expand 30 films to 40 films, where now there's 10 films that before would not have been considered good enough to put on Netflix, and they go, let's just throw it on anyway. And now the overall average of the quality of your films has come down because you added those 10. Well, now instead of 40, they're going to put out 70. That's 30 more films that just when they were limiting themselves to 30, they would have thought this isn't good enough to be on Netflix. This isn't good enough for our viewers. Now it's like, just throw it on. Now the overall average quality of your film have dropped even more. And then from 70, they go, let's put up 170 in a year. Well, that's 140 films that they wouldn't have considered good enough for their audience or good enough for their service. Now it's just like, just put it on. So you had a certain average quality when you had 30 films. You had another 140 of them, your average quality has dropped. Your good movies get lost in the mix, and you develop a reputation that basically your films are garbage. So yes, every once in a while, you come out with an exceptional Mank, or an exceptional Trial of the Chicago 7, or an exceptional Roma, or whatever, but a lot of the good films you make, and you don't make a lot of them, will just get lost in the mix, and then you'll get some people like me that are just like, almost every Netflix film is total garbage. Why would I go give this one a try? Until I hear from other people that's good. So basically, Ted, because we know Ted is watching. By the way, I got a lot of respect for Ted Sarandos. Don't get me wrong. I'm disagreeing with him on this topic, but I have a lot of respect for the guy. But I'm just saying, yes, Ted, there is a contradiction in the ideas of quantity and quality. You got to pick to prioritize one. You guys have clearly prioritized quantity. You've had a few good films, absolutely, but when your ratio is basically 70 terrible films for every one, that's not an exaggeration, by the way. When you've got a rough, let's be generous, let's say 50. When you've got a reputation that you put 50 films, you have to put out 50 garbage films for every one good one, clearly you are prioritizing quantity, not quality. And you don't get to have both. Not at the numbers you're doing things at. You just can't. So anyway, guys, question is for you. What do you think of this? Ted Sarandos is saying, I disagree. I think you can have all the quantity and all the quality. I believe statistics have showed us otherwise. I believe his history at Netflix has shown us otherwise. You got to prioritize one. Whatever you guys think, maybe you agree, maybe you disagree, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.